Welcome to MooMooMath in Science. In this video, I'd like to go over words you may encounter in biology or life science class. I will go over a cell, eukaryote, prokaryote, organism, and organelle. Up first, the cell. It's the smallest unit of life. This is a cell that does contain a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Next, prokaryote. This is a cell that does not contain a nucleus or membrane-bound organelles. And if you'll notice, no nucleus or organelles. Next, an organism is any individual living thing. It may take the shape of an animal, a plant, or even a single-cell organism. And finally, an organelle. These are internal structures of a cell responsible for carrying out specific functions to keep the cell alive. So there we go. Welcome to MooMooMath in Science. In this video, I'd like to go over the following life science vocabulary words: multicellular, unicellular, tissue, organ, and organ system. Multicellular is an organism composed of two or more cells. This plant and dog are multicellular because they're made up of many, many cells. Unicellular is an organism made up of only one cell. Some common examples include bacteria and protists. A tissue is two or more cells that are similar, working together to complete a function. Your skin is an example of a tissue. Organ, two or more tissues working together to complete a function. Your lungs are an example of an organ. And finally, an organ system, a group of two or more organs that work together to perform one or more functions. And this respiratory system is a group of organs that work together to help you convert oxygen to energy. So there we go. Welcome to MooMooMath in Science. In this video, I'd like to go over some life science vocabulary, and I will cover structure, function, homeostasis, photosynthesis, and respiration. Structure is the arrangement or organization of parts. It answers, what is it made of? What does it look like? For example, the structure of your eye is oval. It is made of a clear lens and has blood vessels. Function answers the question, what does it do? What is its job? For example, the function of your eye is to help you see. Homeostasis is the maintenance of steady internal conditions by a living organism. Some common examples for us is your temperature, your blood pressure, and the pH level of the plasma. Your body keeps them at a steady rate. Next, cellular respiration. It's the process in which cells produce energy by combining sugar and oxygen. It occurs in the mitochondria, and again, it's sugar plus oxygen, and it yields carbon dioxide, water, and energy. And finally, photosynthesis. It's the process in which water plus carbon dioxide plus sunlight creates sugar and oxygen. And here's a picture of photosynthesis. You can see sunlight, you can see the carbon dioxide going in and the oxygen going out, and the plant absorbing water. So there we go, life science vocabulary. Welcome to MooMooMath in Science. In this video, I'd like to cover life science vocabulary, and I will cover the following words: active transport, passive transport, osmosis, diffusion, and endocytosis. Active transport, the movement of substances across the plasma membrane of a cell in which energy is required. And here's what this may look like. Passive transport is the movement of substances across the plasma membrane of a cell in which energy is not required. And here's what this may look like. Osmosis the diffusion of water across a membrane. Next, we have diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of particles from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. And here's what this may look like. And finally, endocytosis, the movement of large objects from the outside of a cell to the inside of a cell. And it's a type of active transport. So there we go, some life. Welcome to MooMooMath and Science. In this video, I'd like to talk about life science vocabulary. And in this video, I'd like to cover autotroph, heterotroph, carbohydrate, solvent, and solute. Up first is an autotroph. This is an organism that obtains energy and nutrients by using sunlight in a process called photosynthesis. And here are some examples of autotrophs. Plants are autotrophs. Next, we have a heterotroph, and they are organisms that rely on other organisms such as plants and animals for nutrition. And here are some examples of heterotrophs. Next, we have a carbohydrate. It's a molecule made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen that stores energy, and it also makes up a major class of food. Next, we have a solute. It's the portion of a solution that is dissolved in the solvent. And in this example, sugar is being dissolved into water. And finally, the solvent is in a solution. It is the substance that the solute dissolves into. And in this example, the water is the solvent. So there we go, life science vocabulary. Math and science and life science vocabulary. In this video, you will learn about the skeletal system, a ligament, a tendon, a muscular system, and a cardiac muscle. Up first, skeletal system, an organ system that supports, protects, and helps the body move. Bones, ligaments, and tendons are found in this system. Ligament, a connective tissue that connects bone to bone. And here's a picture of a ligament. Tendon, it's a connective tissue that connects muscle to bone. Again, here's a picture. Muscular system are muscles that help the body move inside and out. And here's some muscles. And finally, cardiac muscle. These are muscles found in the heart. And there's a cardiac muscle. So there we go, life science vocabulary. Welcome to MooMooMath and Science and Life Science Vocabulary. In this video, you will learn about the integumentary system, the endocrine system, the lymphatic system, urinary system, and the respiratory system. Up first, integumentary system, an organ system that contains your skin, hair, and nails. And here's what this looks like. The endocrine system, an organ system that sends chemical messages called hormones throughout your body. And there's a picture of this. Lymphatic system, an organ system of lymph vessels that drain fluid from the tissues and transport it to the lymph nodes. These small gland-like masses of tissue filter out and destroy bacteria and other harmful substances. And here's the lymphatic system. Urinary system, an organ system that produces, stores, and eliminates urine, the fluid waste excreted by the kidneys. And respiratory system, an organ system that is a series of organs responsible for taking in oxygen and expelling carbon dioxide. Primary organs of the respiratory system are your lungs. So there we go, life science vocabulary. Welcome to MooMooMath and Science. In this video, you will learn the following life science vocabulary words: artery, vein, capillary, esophagus, trachea. Up first, artery, a vessel of the body that carries blood away from the heart. And here's what an artery looks like. Next, you have vein, a vessel of the body that carries blood towards the heart. Next, capillary, the smallest blood vessels in the body. These vessels form a network between the veins and the arteries. And here is a picture of a capillary. Next, we have the esophagus, a muscular tube that connects the throat and the stomach. And here's a picture of the esophagus. And finally, trachea, a muscular tube that connects the back of the mouth to the lungs. So there we go, life science vocabulary. Welcome to MooMooMath and Science. In this video, I'd like to cover some life science vocabulary. And in this video, I will cover adrenaline, villi, central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, circulatory system. Up first, adrenaline, a hormone secreted by the adrenal glands, especially in conditions of stress, increasing rates of blood circulation, breathing, muscle exertion. And here's an example of some adrenaline. Villi, small finger-like projections found in the small intestines. And here's a picture of some villi. Central nervous system, the part of the nervous system consisting of the brain and the spinal cord. And here's the central nervous system, the brain and spinal cord. Next, peripheral nervous system, the nerves outside the brain and spinal cord. And finally, circulatory system, an organ system that transports blood and nutrients to and from the cells in the body to provide nourishment and help in fighting disease. So there we go, some life science vocabulary. Welcome to MooMooMath and Science and Life Science Vocabulary. In this video, I will cover genetics, traits, heredity, genotype, and phenotype. Okay, first, genetics, the study of heredity. Next, traits, characteristics or attributes of an organism that are expressed by genes. Heredity, the passing of a physical or mental characteristic, generally from one generation to another. Next, phenotype, the physical expression of DNA. And finally, genotype, the genetic makeup of an organism. So there we go, some important life science vocabulary. Welcome to MooMooMath and Science. In this video, we will cover some life science vocabulary. And in this video, we will cover alleles, homozygous, heterozygous, chromosome, and gene. Up first, alleles, different forms of the same trait. And if you look at this picture, you have several examples of alleles, hair color, and different shaped nose, and different shaped lips, and skin color slightly. Next, we have homozygous, a gene that has identical alleles. It is written using 2 capital letters for a dominant trait and 2 lowercase letters for a recessive trait. And here's how we would write a homozygous. Next, we have heterozygous, a gene that has different alleles. It is written using 1 capital letter for the dominant trait and 1 lowercase letter for the recessive trait. And here it is written out. Next, we have a chromosome, bundles of tightly coiled DNA located within the nucleus, carrying genetic information in the form of genes. And here's what some chromosomes look like. And finally, gene, a section of DNA that has the instructions for building a protein. And here's kind of a cartoon drawing of a gene. Notice that it is a section of DNA. So there we go, life science vocabulary.
Welcome to MooMooMath and Science. In this video, we will cover some life science vocabulary. And in this video, we will cover genotype, phenotype, selective breeding, asexual reproduction, and genetic engineering. Up first, genotype. Genotype is the genetic makeup of an individual. And here's some genotype. Next, we have phenotype, the physical expression of one's genotype. And here's the physical expression of their genotype. Next, selective breeding. It's choosing parents with particular characteristics to breed together and produce offspring with more desirable characteristics. And we're going to breed these two plants to get an even better plant. Next, we have asexual reproduction, a type of reproduction by which offsprings arise from a single organism and inherit the genes of that parent. And finally, genetic engineering, the direct manipulation of an organism's genes using biotechnology. And here's genetic engineering at work. So there we go, some life science vocabulary.
Welcome to MooMooMath and Science. In this video, let's go over some life science vocabulary. And in this video, we will cover fossil, adaptation, ancestor, evolution, and mutation. Up first, fossil, the trace or remains of a once living organism. And here's a picture of a fossil. Adaptation, any alteration in the structure or function of an organism that results from natural selection and by which the organism becomes better fitted to survive and multiply in its environment. And here's an adaptation. See how many adaptations you can identify with this little green fella. And next we have ancestor, the organism from which later organisms evolved. And here is just a picture of some ancestors. You have a couple of generations of families, but hopefully you get the point of ancestor. And next we have evolution, a change in the genetic composition of a population during successive generations resulting from natural selection acting on a genetic variation resulting in the development of new species. And here's a picture. This is actually a well and the evolution of the well. And finally, last we have mutation. When a DNA gene is damaged or changed in such a way as to alter the genetic message carried by that gene. And here's a picture of a mutation. So there we go, some life science vocabulary. Welcome to MooMooMath and Science. In this video, let's talk about some life science vocabulary. And in this video, we will cover decomposer, producer, herbivore, carnivore, and omnivore. Up first, decomposer, an organism that breaks down dead or decaying organisms. And here's the most common decomposer found, bacteria. Next, we have a producer, organisms like plants that make their own food and energy through a process called photosynthesis. Producers are the first level of a food web. And here are some producers doing their thing. Next, we have herbivore. An herbivore is an animal that gets its energy from eating plants and only plants. And there's a couple herbivores eating plants. Next, carnivore. An organism that derives its energy and nutrient requirement from a diet consisting mainly of or exclusively of animal tissue. And there's a carnivore. And finally, an omnivore is an organism that derives its energy and nutrient requirements from a diet consisting of animal tissue and plants. And there's an omnivore. Welcome to MooMooMath and Science. In this video, let's go over vocabulary related to evolution. And in this video, we will go over acquired trait, diversity, extinction, fitness, speciation, and genetic variation. So let's get started. Acquired trait, features that are developed during the lifetime of an individual. These characteristics are not genetically controlled nor passed to the next generation. And in the picture is an example. The lady getting the tattoo will not pass the tattoo on to her offspring if she has offspring. Next, diversity. Differences between different individuals of a population. And I have two pictures. First, you can see the differences of the different dogs, and you can see the diversity and differences among the different types of noses. Extinction, the death of the last remaining individual of a species, resulting in an entire species dying off. And in the pictures you have dinosaurs that became extinct and a meteor getting ready to strike the earth and possibly causing their extinction. Fitness, how well an organism is adapted to their environment, which determines its ability to survive and reproduce. And this picture is a classic example. In fact, the finches are one of the things that got Charles Darwin thinking about evolution. And the finches have different types of beaks based on the food where they're located. And the beaks either increased or decreased their fitness. Speciation, the development of one or more species from an existing species. And the example you can see, you start with the original population, you have some type of maybe a separation, and then in the end you end up with two new species. And genetic variation, the difference in DNA of individuals. And I have two pictures to illustrate this. You can see the wheat, and you can see that the wheat on the left and the right have different genes, slightly different. And the other picture are all the people on Earth, and each of them have a slightly different genetic code.